everybody, I'm FG and welcome to another oxygenated patch report. This is the Totally Rad update and we finally have it. We finally have nuclear stuff and radiation. Yay! Well, gotta take the good with the bad, right? Gotta take the good with the bad. That's how that works. We're gonna look at all of the new features right now. As per usual, we're gonna quickly go over the patch notes and then we're gonna see everything in action. So first and foremost, of course, the radiation system. We get a whole new overlay. We get uranium that we can finally mine. We get new radiation sources including cosmic radiation, radioactive weedswords, and radioactive shine bugs. We get a research point for atomic stuff, of course, makes sense. And they added a radiation balance line item to duplicant's condition panel. So I guess your people can get irradiated now. Fun! We get new critters. We've seen them before when we looked at the uranium biomes, but the critters themselves actually weren't in yet. So we get the Beeta and the Beatini, or Beatini critter. They will refine natural uranium ore, and the hives can be harvested for uranium by the duplicants as well. Of course, coming with that, we get buildings for producing and harnessing radioactive particles. We get the centrifuge, apparently that word's difficult, that refines uranium. We get the research reactor building that produces radiation. The rad bolt generator and the rad bolt redirector harness radiation to produce high energy rad bolts. We have to figure out what we can do with those at some point in the future. Atomic Collider Research Station turns rad bolts into tech. Ooh. And then the decontamination shower clears both suited duplicants and their carried items, because I would imagine you don't want it to get radiation into your actual colony. That sounds like a bad idea. Dupe, vulnerability and protection obviously added to radiation as well, because, you know, as I said, what would the good be without the bad, right? There is the so-called fallout germ that proposes an ongoing hazard. We can now make lead suits and checkpoints to shield them from radiation. The decontamination shower, as we just already heard, cleans dupes and their cargo. The radiation sickness can afflict exposed duplicants, and they get we get a medicine to deal with absorbed radiation called the rad pill, or the basic rad pill rather. And we get a radiation sensor for automation, and the orbital research station and the space retro points added to the tech tree. So those are all the new things that we get, and we will be playing around with them a little bit later in this video. And then, besides all the glorious new stuff that we've just talked about, we have a myriad of background fixes, changes, tweaks, cleaning up of the code, and all sorts of other things, which I will not read out, but it's just a lot of stuff that was just broken and that people reported during the last 2 weeks between last patch and this patch. And here we are. There we go. We've got our wonderful lead suits right here. Stations just work like the Atmos suits or the oxygen masks or whatever, and the duplicant just walks as right on time, Bubbles. They walk on. The suit is incredibly heavy. The duplicants are extremely slow when they're wearing it, like extremely slow, but they're still doing it. So there we go. We've got our little lead suits. They're not really difficult to build. They only need oxygen, as you can see, and then they protect the little duplicants from their radiation while they're working over here. And there is plenty of radiation right here, as you can see, with a lovely overlay. Actually, there's not that much. There's loads over here because we had an accident. I don't know what you're going for, Bubbles. Oh, are you irradiated? Bubbles might be irradiated already. Let's check. Absorbed rad diodes, 0.94 rads. Yes, we've already had that lovely little problem earlier. Oopsie. So the rad shower, the decontamination shower, is actually in medicine. Let's put that down right there, and then we literally just need to connect it with some piping. Let's connect that real quick. If they pass through there and they're irradiated, they will go and put the suit on. I also should put a wall there. So we've got several other buildings that Bubbles is playing around with here. We've got the uranium centrifuge, which you use to make enriched uranium, because normally the uranium that you see around here is not actually radioactive. As you can see, there's like hardly any radiation here. The only radiation is really with the bees, with the betas and the bee tinies, which is right here. That's the beta, and that's the bee tiny, because they can't fly yet. And they are radioactive. Their hives are radioactive, but the uranium itself is not. You have to enrich it first to create radioactive uranium that you can then use in the research reactor, which will then make rad bolts, which you can then send into your atomic collider. I'm actually using like naturally generated radiation right down here at the moment, to then use the atomic collider to generate atomic research, because the research tree has been changed quite a lot by this. So as you can see, for example, certain researchers that didn't used to need atomic research now do, like for example the jetpacks, the molecular forge, and other things like it. So if you look around, you can see there's quite a few things. The radiation protection suits also need atomic research. Okey dokey. So yeah, you have to start with the naturally collected radiation, or rad bolts rather, before you can even get to this. And then radiation refinement needs loads and loads and loads. It needs all research types. So cryofuel propulsion as well. So the hydrogen engine is going to be locked behind atomic research. There's a lot of atomic research to be done, which is debatable. Like even bunker doors are now behind atomic research. So you can't do solar really before you get atomic. I'm not sure if I like that change, because apparently even for solar panels you need atomic research now. So, you know, debatable. We can give feedback and see if that's good or not. I think there might be a little bit too much locked behind the radiation research, because it's not the easiest thing to do and to set up, because you have to get all the way over here first, and then you can go back and make solar panels and, you know, certain things like that. And then the really fun thing begins, which is dealing with the research reactor. Because what the research reactor does is it uses the enriched uranium to create radiation. So if I go here now, you can see it's like intensely radiated over here. So what you do to actually use that radiation for research purposes is you go over to radiation and you build your rad bolt generators, which attracts nearby radiation to generate rad bolts. So you place that down and then you hook it up to power. Don't mind me, I'm just in debug mode just to show you. And then you can see it sort of, you know, it takes them in and then it would kick them out to the top. So a reflector can then send them somewhere else. The problem, however, though, is the research reactor gets incredibly hot. And I'm just gonna let this play out. What happens if you don't cool it properly? So you have to put in water to cool down the uranium, and that generates lots of steam. And I'll just let play out what happens when you don't cool it, because it is quite amazing. If this thing gets too hot, because reactor meltdown is a thing, and it's glorious. It basically sends out meteors everywhere, and it destroys your colony. I don't know if I want to call it glorious, but it is glorious. Also, it makes radiation go anywhere. So be careful when playing around with a research reactor, because messes happen. Messes do happen, just very slightly. But on the other hand, it is also incredibly satisfying and glorious to watch. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you all next time. Take care and bye-bye.